All right. So we will uh, continue with our testing mastery section here, adding tests to existing code, which if the code you work on is anything like the code I work on, it's likely it wasn't created with testing in mind, and so you may feel that it's untestable, but there are techniques for adding tests to untestable code. There's this book, um, Michael Feathers, Working Effectively with Legacy Code. It's been out for uh, 15, 20 years, and and it has stood the test of time. It's been really helpful. In that book, he talks about characterization tests, which are basically you you have you have some code that you need to modify for whatever reason, and you want to add tests to it, and it's not designed for testing, and it's almost impossible to test. So what you do is you create what he calls a characterization test. So effectively, you take some section of the code that you can lock down, and you add tests just to that part using various techniques that he describes in his book. I would strongly recommend you have this book available. It's really exceptionally well written. It has the way it's structured is every section, every chapter, whatever you call it, is it it has a question that you'd ask. So let's say I have you know, where do I have my copy here? Um, I'm just drawing a blank.
Scott has an awesome library behind him.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's got a question here. Says, all right, I can't run this method in a test harness, or I need to make a change. What methods should I test? I need to make many changes in one area. Do I have to break the dependencies for all the classes involved? This is the one I go to regularly. I need to make a change, but I don't know what tests to write. So he's basically got a whole set of recipes to follow for all kinds of different situations. So it's really pretty cool.
Awesome.
Now, the thing is that adding characterization tests are hard because it's usually hard to test something by itself because it's connected to other things, and those other things are untested and untestable as well. If you have a very large class, um, it's hard to add tests to the whole doggone class. And you just can't get coverage over everything. Or same thing for large methods. There's a bunch of different things that you need to test, and it's hard to just keep everything in mind. And then, of course, my favorite is not designed with testing in mind. So you'd have to add all kinds of mocks and fakes and that sort of thing to add testing for it. There is the the program that I work on every day has we've rolled our own database access mechanism. I wouldn't call it an ORM, but it's a database access mechanism, and everything in the application talks to the database. Everything, and so the database is just passed in as a parameter to pretty much anything that you're going to do, or it's just a what you call it, it's passed into every object on creation, and then it's used throughout that object. So if you're trying to lock down any method in any object, first you've got to fake out the database. And it took me quite literally years to come up with a way to do this. And it's been been a real hassle. But now that I've found a way to do that, effectively what I did is I created a SQLite database, and that is the same shape as the main database, and it just has some test data. so, so that's a high performance way for me to add tests and do that sort of thing. And it makes it possible for me to now test things that I need to. Enter approval tests. So this is what gets me on the way. Have I talked? I think I've talked about approval tests before. It's a project that I work on. It's an open source project I learned about some years ago, and I tried for years to get it to work, and it was really frustrating, but I saw the potential, so I kept trying, and ultimately I was able to contact the original author. And for the past 3 years or so, I've been working with him to improve the documentation and improve the tool, and at least on the Java part. And I've learned a tremendous amount from him, and I've learned a tremendous amount of how the tool works. So I'm a big advocate for it. It makes it easy to add tests, because really all you do, the way it works is it will you'll create a string output of some sort, and there are various tools that it includes to facilitate that. And it shows the state of your application at some given time, and then you save that I guess it will automatically save that string representation. And then if you make any change to the application that will change that state, then it will automatically fire up your diff tool and show you what has changed, so you can quickly go back and update that. And it still supports Java 8, which is a good thing, because you'd be surprised how many companies have not moved off of Java 8. It's also helpful for doing TDD. It's much easier to write a failing test. You just say, this is what the program needs to look like, and go on from there. Test-driven maintenance is easier, because you can define, this is what I want my output to look like when it is working properly, and then move towards that. And one thing that I think is really powerful is it will generate combinations of test data. So it will plow through and I guess if you need to test a range of values for parameters, then it will go and automatically generate tests for each of those values. And it's I don't know, it's very handy. I've used that in a couple of places. Okay, so let's practice. Where are we? We are right here. Have you seen this this trivia game? Have I shown you this before? Basically, we have, this is from, let me get to the website. This approval test. This the trivia. Oh, is this the trivia? No. Okay, fine. We'll just go to.
It happens to me all the time. You type a address, then Chrome says, "You want to go to this tab?" Oh, I have this tab open around here somewhere in another window or lost in another monitor.
Yeah, J Brains trivia. Here we go. So, JB Rainsberger has he's a big advocate of a thing called the Legacy Code Retreat. I don't have I told you about the Code Retreat? Once a year in November, there's the World Day of Code Retreat, and basically developers get together uh, and work on coding exercises. I'll let you know when it's coming up. I usually participate, so you can a number of places will have ways to practice locally, and other places will show you. Well, they'll sort of host an online gathering. So anyhow, he came up with this problem for legacy code retreat, and he's got it in a whole bunch of different languages. I think last week we went over uh, the Gilded Rose, which is also in a whole bunch of different languages. So this is the Java version here, and what we have is basically you've got a game, and this is kind of what it looks like here. Um, and we want to go and refactor that. It has a test, true is true. It's not a very useful test. It has a game runner where it goes um, and generates random values so that it can go and exercise the test. One useful thing about the test is that it has print statements, system out print line. So it has print statements throughout the program to show you progress, which is something that we can use for our approval tests to make sure that the state is still good. So, and this is kind of what the testing looked like when I started my project in my company, and meaning that it didn't exist. What it did test didn't test things properly. Um, so let's start by what I want to do is add tests to see how this thing works. Okay. Um, so we'll look at our game runner, and we can run that. And see that what Java error version 6 not supported. Oh man, I gotta change my Java. I knew I should have tried this first. Try this. So you go back here one more time. I think we need to go to Java 8. So let's try that. We go to our game runner, and we'll try running that, see if that works. Much better. No, 1.6. Let's say 1.6. 1.8. That's crazy. Sorry about that. Oh, 1.6. There we go. All right. So you see that it goes through and it generates a whole bunch of things until the answer was correct, which is very good. So, so this is our game runner, and we have a useless test. So what we want to do is let's we want to run this test, and we want to the thing about this game runner is it's got this random thing in the middle, and we can't really control this random thing. What we want to do is lock that down, and this is where our characterization tests technique will come in handy. What we want to do is slice this out. We want um, Michael Feathers calls it adding a seam where we can get in there and control the application. So if we can lock down this randomness, then it would be a good thing. So what we'll do is we'll basically make a copy of this main function. I'm just come on. There we go. All right, and we will call it main2. Okay. And so we create a game, we add these things, we got this random thing. What we'll do is we'll say random we'll pass in that rand because we're not using it before that. So we'll just do that. Okay. And then here in main, what we'll do, take this part out. We'll just call main2 with rand. Okay. And then we'll run our test again, or we'll run the program again. And we see it still runs. And this is a good thing. So you see how you can go and lock things down. What you'll do is you'll find the thing that you need to lock down and pass it in as a parameter. And then you'll find the program, the part of the program that needs to call it as it originally was called. And you'll have it call your new thing that's now controlled, but passing in the part that needs to change. You find this sometimes with dates and that sort of thing that you don't have any control over. So this is how we would do that. So now let's create a test, and we won't have test true is true. We'll say, oh, game runs. I don't know. And what we'll say is game runner. Is that static? Yeah, that's static. So game runner main2 game runner dot main2, and we'll pass in a random number, new random 0. Now we'll run our test. We'll see that everything works. Okay. Okay, so with all that in mind, now let's go and introduce approval tests so we can make sure that what we're doing is correct. So we go here and we go to our approval test, which was over here. And how do we get it? We're using Maven here. How to get it, Maven, right there. So I will copy that, go back to my POM file, add it as a dependency, and then refresh that. And that's how hard it is to add approval tests.
Awesome. I worked in a project. I was intern when I changed my career, and the project was just like this. The True is True. They had like 5 tests in a project that was huge, huge. It's basically all the mobile phone operator here from Rio de Janeiro, Oi, basically all the services that control billing, everything from website. They had all their servers running Oracle or something like that, that we consumed in SOAP connections. But
Oh
the
my,
code was just like this, had only a few tests. Everything was like for the God will it work, because we didn't know we made any change. We had to do a lot of tests and trial and error, do this, see if change was a nightmare. Wish I knew how to do what we're teaching now.
right, right. Yeah, actually, the guy who created this project, his name is Llewellyn Falco, and he was telling me a story of a project that he worked on where um, they were working on it was like a mechanism, a medical device that would deliver medication, and it had very precise ways that it had to deliver the medication, and they had lost the source code. So they needed to make some small change to this
Wow.
device driver that delivered the medication and how it measured it and everything. And so there was no room for error, because if they
Yes.
delivered the wrong medication, you kill somebody. So he said
Wow.
basically what they did is they dumped the entire state of the program with every line and had this massive print output and ran it
Yes.
through approval tests. And then they went through and basically created a program that would duplicate that so that they could have sources to work from. And then they would go and make changes to
Wow.
he said it was insane. And at one point they things stopped working and they were freaking out. What did we break? And they were able to roll back and say, oh, look, they've got there's a when in our tests, since we were running it yesterday and it was working today, it's not working in our tests. We've got it sticks today's date in there. And so we need to go and lock that out. so,
Wow. Well, a date was broken. Oh, awesome.
so
I can't imagine working a medical device.
yeah. Oh man, what a nightmare. So
Yeah.
okay. So here we are. We've got we run the test and it prints all this stuff out. Um, but we can't really use it. We can't do anything with it because it goes and does system.println. So what we can do is we can add a function here. We're not going to change how the program works. We'll just have a private print line. string text, and it will do system.out.println text.
It misses this the string before the print line.
Return to help. I know this. Okay, so nobody calls it or anything. So what we can now do is we can just go through and say, since I'm using Vim, we'll replace all of the system.out.println with my print line.
But you deleted the no, it's print line. Sorry.
Yeah. Now everybody calls print line that used to call system.out.println, and oops, I gotta put it back here. System.out.println. Okay, so now it works just like it used to. Except we have some redness up here. And string, we're expecting an object. Okay, fine. So we'll go here. Object. Since string is an object, we'll say text.toString. All right. And so now if we run our test, see it still prints a bunch of stuff out, which is a good thing. And now this is one of the cool things of the tools that that approval test has. It's got a really cool what it calls a simple logger. All right. So what we will do is we'll go to our game runner here. We'll say string buffer FB equals simple logger dot log to string. So any logging that the simple logger is going to do is going to go to this string buffer because it's basically a singleton in memory that runs with this program. Okay. And then we'll just go to our approval tests and say approvals dot verify with an F string buffer. Okay, so it's going to take all of that stuff. So now, since I've gone in here and created this print line, I can add, I've basically created another seam here where I can add some testing stuff. So I can go here and say, okay, simple logger. And I'll say message, is that text to string. Okay, so now I'm going to grab that text and I'm going to save it in my approval tests as well as printing it out like we were doing before. And then I'll run my test again. And ta-da! They use different carriage return times. Yeah, that's fine. So this is our output. And I will just go and copy everything. You see that it basically it creates an output file. Some game run, some test game runs received. So this is the output that we got, and it's saved in a text file. And then this one is some test.game runs. That's the name of my test. Approved. So this is what I'm expecting to see, right? So this is my received. This is my expected. So this is how it will work in JUnit, right? So then I can just save this, save all the changes. And if I run the test again, now it's green. So what I've done is I've gone and I've locked down how the random values are generated. So it generates the same random values every time. I've created a test that's going to run that, and now I have my game locked down. So this is how we can use approval tests to lock down code. One thing I want to point out, I have no idea how this program works. I have it locked down, and I am confident that any changes that I make to the program will be caught if I do anything wrong. So that's a really cool feeling. So for instance here, current, I know that's misspelled. Let's change that to be correct. And now I run my test. And you'll see that now it says correct everywhere. So it catches all the little changes that I make. So I can go ahead and just move all those, save them, and I'm back in business again. So now we can go through and refactor this and make whatever corrections we need to. That's really the thing I wanted to show you today. Let's see here. So yeah, I didn't finish my slide. That's embarrassing. Okay. Now last week we went over the 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 Gilded Rose project, right? Okay. So last week and this week are closely related. So like with last week, we needed to add the let me see here. Go back to Gilded Rose. So for here, we've got oh yeah, this is I went through and worked through it. So here we can go back to where it was at the beginning. Right. So this ugly thing, and we were supposed to add the conjured item to it. So yeah, I worked through. There's a video. I will. Did I give you the show you the video? Kevin Henney walks through this in C and reworks it and shows a really clever way to update this. I like to see how other people work through these katas and how they come up with different solutions from me. What do we have here? 1 minute. Oh, okay. Sorry, I should have seen that a long time ago.
I had to leave it. I'm back.
No problem. So yeah, this is pretty much what I had to show for today. Um, I know I kind of went through it quickly, and ideally, what I would want to do is have you go through doing it. There is there's another project that that I came came across yesterday that I wanted to walk you through. And okay, oh, let's not do this one. Let's this one or this one. Let's roll back everything else because that is a hassle to get set up. So, yeah, there is a, I will kill this and then I will go to this here. Uncle Bob. This here? No, that's Douglas. Where's Uncle Bob's thing? I'm one of those guys who keeps 11 dozen tabs open.
I don't remember Edge, but I think they have like a tabs index, like they sort the tabs and show you listed. Because I do this all the time, and the worst part that I have mainly two windows open, the work and personal, so I have tabs everywhere.
Right. Yeah. It's, so is there's something that will help you to see what's in there? I'll look that up. Is it a plugin?
I don't know. I think in Chrome you have a small arrow that shows all the tabs listed, so you can go because they start to get smaller, and then you don't have the in Chrome is in tabs. Oh, Bing should copy this. I'll try to discover.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I mean, I think I'm using Edge, so
Yes, yes,
so
yes,
they may
yes.
not have that. But I'm gonna send you the link to this. I'll put it up in the Discord. Uncle Bob's kata here. He talks about there's a kata for this bowling game, and he breaks it down into little tiny steps. So basically, what he has is this. Well, here I'll just run it. He has this set of slides where he describes the problem, and then he walks through exactly how to do each step. And the thing he says, which I think makes a lot of sense, is that if you wish to try the style of learning, where is it? Yeah, the best way to acquire design sense is to find someone who has it, put your fingers on top of theirs, put your eyeballs right behind theirs, and follow along as they design something. Learning a kata could be one way to accomplish this. So, in walking through this, um, yeah, I just basically walked through and and wrote the code that he recommended, which this should have all been empty, but that's okay. All right, I walked through the code that he recommended and and showed how to do, and basically he he shows different things that don't look good. Here I'll bring that up again. Um, for instance, he'll have a little message up here, and this is duplicated, and this loop is duplicated. So we should go and clean that up. So then he shows you here's how we clean it up.
Oh.
And then we got this ugly comment here, what we're doing. So keep that in mind so we can clean it up. And then we've got this problem here. So I find it really helpful. And it's a simple thing. It doesn't take a long time to work through, but that's what I will give you as homework is basically work through this to sort of develop some design sense. Also, it'll help you develop a practice doing TDD because he walks you through using TDD to work through the bowling score problem. You know how to score bowling, right? The strikes and spares. And and I find found it really helpful to get a sense for, okay, here's how you notice something is wrong. So this is a code smell, and then we make a note of this code smell, and we make sure that we get the test passing, we get everything stable. Now let's go and clean up the code smell that we just introduced, and it's a good way to work through. And you see that in his exercise here, he comes up with, okay, this is the wrong solution. This is a design smell. So here's a better way to implement this. So so again, I just find it really helpful. And really that's that's all I have for now. Do y'all have any questions, comments, suggestions?
No, nothing. I just discovered you can go to the extreme left button. There's an icon there, and you have search tabs. There's an icon like tabs, black in the extreme left of the tabs,
Oh,
and you
okay.
have search tabs.
Oh,
Then
look
you
at
can find.
that.
I use it at some time. I don't recall when, but I have these tabs open.
You
So
are a lifesaver. Thank you. I
no problem,
appreciate
no problem. No, I really like it. This and this presentation that you showed quickly that goes through the design session is in the Discord.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Basically,
The
he has a link. The very first word is a link to
perfect.
the what you call it, PowerPoint slides.
Yes, yes. Awesome, awesome.
Okay.
Then thanks, Scotty. From me, it's great.
So,
Thankfully, I'm not working in legacy code with no tests anymore. I'm still working in Java 8. We are in a mission to move to Java 17, I think.
oh,
But
great.
I have tests now, at least.
Okay. Excellent. Um, so this pretty much covers the testing stuff that that I wanted you to learn. Do you feel confident that you can add tests to a legacy system? I guess give it a try. Try it in the work you're doing this week, and if see if you have any questions, or try working through Akata, and if you have any questions or insights that come up from how you've been doing, you can bring that next week. We can go over it. Otherwise, next week we'll work on to our next module, which is what is it? For testing. Oh, yeah, we'll start working on code smells and refactoring techniques.
Awesome.
So this is really cool.
Do you recommend to read something for our class next week about code smells?
Oh, about code smells? Well, I mean, I guess I have my ebook, which goes over some simple code smells and associated refactorings. But you know, otherwise, I mean, I think you both have that already, I assume. If not,
Yes.
then no. And but yeah, I think it'd be better to just work through this kata, because he goes over
Okay.
some smells as you work through that kata, and how to refactor them away as you're going through and doing TDD.
Awesome.
Okay. So I'll leave it at that, and y'all have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
I'm so
Have a
happy to see
pleasure.
you both.
All right.
Me too.
Bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.